Irish. Show. Always Irish. Show. Always Irish. Show. Sometimes it's good to just yell about football. What are you doing? Don't do this to me, Harry! The Ohio State. It's Ohio State! What do you mean, the? It's a poison! I almost stroked out and died over it. I'm glad to be at the party. I'm mad we're this late. You ain't a captain of nothing but a sinking ship! That helps the defense without them even doing a damn thing! Doing a damn thing! The call-in line. 312-988-15. You tell Johnny all you've heard and seen. Oh, Irish. Oh, Irish. Oh, Irish. Oh, Irish. Irish. Yeah, that's right. Oh, Irish. Oh, Irish. Oh, Irish. Oh, Irish. Irish. Yeah, that's right. Oh, the vibes are weird today. The vibes are weird. And not just on the Notre Dame side. The vibes entering this game are not what anybody wanted. I would even say on both sides. This is an odd week. And one of the questions I have for you guys is, how are you doing? How are you doing? Because it's getting wild out here on Notre Dame social media and everything else. Odd vibes, really odd vibes. And I got a couple points about that I have to go over. We got a few callers lined up already. People donated. We're going to bring you right up. 574-361-612, checking in with you. These are odd times. These are odd times. And there's a couple things I got to get out of my system about it. And then we'll get going. Yeah, John about to splurge on the Freeman Under Armour collection. I'm telling you what, Under Armour has great timing. Just fantastic freaking timing. Pat, thanks for the birthday wishes. It was my birthday yesterday. And all I ask for on every odd year when we have USC at home for my birthday, it always falls that week. All I want is a win against USC. Same thing I say every other year when we have them in that second week of October, whatever. That's all I want. That's all Johnny needs to be happy. It's all I got. All I ask for. Is it too much? Who knows? We're going to find out. But you guys, things are just off and weird and feel awful. There's a lot going on. So let's get into it. It's just exhausting. Every hour of consuming Notre Dame it's taken a lot out of everybody this week. So let's get into it. As always, you can find the program on YouTube. Do it. Subscribe if you haven't yet. Appreciate it very much. Give the video a thumbs up. That helps me as well. Notifications on that way you alerted every time a new episode drops and John's mad about something. You can be the first to see it. Twitter, search bar, Always Irish Rat. Always Irish Inc. Emails, alwaysirishnd@gmail.com. Audio only anywhere you want it. You can get it. The call-in lines, 312-988-15. Instagram, Facebook, Always Irish Inc. USA Today, Fighting Irish Wire. Read all about it. We got stuff out. We got you covered for USC week, the big picture. I got articles out on everything. It's cathartic for me to get it out of my system. Every time Notre Dame loses, I end up getting backlash from some portion of the fan base that doesn't like the way I deliver my messaging, whatever. It happens every time we lose. No one ever has a problem with my reaction when we win. It's only when we lose. And then I'm overreact. I don't care. I only know one way to operate this show, and it's from my heart. It's never going to change. Is that the most sane approach? Probably not. It's the only way I know how to do it. Anybody who doesn't like it, go watch something else. I don't care. I encourage you, watch what you like. Don't watch what you don't like, but leave everybody alone. Everybody's doing their best navigating this however they feel like they can. Yeah, but it's funny though. Right when everybody's like Miserable and questioning Freeman the most they ever have. They dropped the coaches collection. You guys have been asking for it. Here it is. And it couldn't be released the week of Ohio State when things are trending up and we're all excited. No, you wait till Freeman's stock is bottomed out and then you drop the collection. It's just perfect. It's beautiful, man. I love that. Unbelievable. So, this is rough. This is rough. So let's do a couple of the chats and then I'm going to go over a couple of my notes and then we'll get into this. Again, you guys with the chats are pretty good because you're on a lot of this stuff I wanted to talk about. $5 olive from Mike. He's coming up on the phones. Don't love to coach speak coming from Parker. He better get back to the 40-point offense or Saturday night's going to be a long one. Yeah, it's here's what I have to say on that. It was on my list, so I may as well address it now. It's on my list. There has been a lot of reaction, all different ways. The high road, the low road, the middle road, whatever. A lot of different reactions about Marcus Freeman's press conference Monday. He said he has no problem with the play calling, but he has a problem with the execution. Okay? Now, there are still frames all over the internet showing what Notre Dame was doing had no mathematical chance of working, even if it was executed and blocked right. Literally, there's pictures all over the internet of those plays where even if you block it right, they have two more free guys than you could block, and it makes no sense. Okay. All right. Then people like me and others reacted bad because I was saying Freeman can't get up there and just start saying we got to execute better. And everybody goes, okay. And we move on to the next. This one crossed the line where you're not allowed to do that anymore. It's exactly what he did. And then we have people saying, like me, mad at that. And then the big response is, you're an idiot. Don't you know how this works? They're not going to give you transparency. What did you expect him to say? He can't throw his guy under the bus publicly. Follow me here. You don't have to be a genius. Follow me here. Obviously, these are all PR machines and they're given canned responses and told what to say and not to all that. No one expects full transparency. If Freeman is seething mad about what Parker's doing, he can't say that. What could he say, though? How about this? Instead of, I have no problem with the plays, just the execution. How much differently would it have played if Marcus said, listen, when things aren't working and they don't work, like our offense the last few weeks, we need to look at everything. Do a deep dive on everything. There's your answer. So for everybody wondering, well, what did you want him to say? There is middle ground between throwing Parker under the bus and doubling down on plays that have no chance of work, even if you run them perfectly. There is nuance. There is middle ground. That's what he should have said. When things aren't working, we got to take a deep dive at every aspect of everything. Problem solved. He's addressing some of the play calling, but without throwing anybody under the bus and taking collective responsibility. Even if he just said that, instead of doubling down on the play calling, it would have not had this reaction. So open your minds a little bit before you tweet at me. You're an idiot. What did you want him to say? There's nuance. All he had to say is when something doesn't work, we got to look at every aspect of it. Problem solved. But he didn't do that. He doubled down on Parker and those play calls, many of which could not succeed even if blocked and ran right. So that's my response to what do you want him to say? I want him to say when it doesn't work, we got to look at everything. And then you eliminate this double backlash. There are levels to this. It was a decision to double down on Parker and not just say, we got to look at everything. Now, here's the next step of that. God, I hate having this discussion on USC week. This should not be where we're at. The next part of that is people are saying, is that level of scrutiny hanging on every sentence the head coach says in a press conference really, like, is that okay that that's what we're doing here? Here's my answer. This is what happens when you play the way you did. When you play the way you did here, and you had undeniable coaching mistakes that may or may not have lost you the game against Ohio State, this is what happens. This is not random. This is not the press nitpicking just to be difficult. When you do what Notre Dame has done, the heat gets ratcheted up and everybody's hanging on every word because they want answers and they want something to blame, somebody to blame. That's how this goes. When you're at Notre Dame and things are going this bad and there's no way to, like, it's not even close to where you could excuse your way out of it. That's how this shit goes. So that's what I want to say about the whole press conference thing. What did you want him to say? We need to look at everything, not double down on plays that had no chance to work, even if you ran them right. That's what I would have wanted. Sorry, man, you don't get to play this bad and then throw out the same thing that you don't. So that's where I'm at on that. But for everybody going, I don't know what you expected him to say. I just told you, when it ain't working, we got to look at every aspect of it. That hits way different than doubling down on these plays that are all over Twitter where they have 20 more blockers than we have guys blocking, or 20 more rushers than we have guys blocking, bro. Come on, dude. Give me a break. Give me a break. And it's like, listen, I'm getting a little heat here for how hard I'm being on Freeman. And it's like, I thought that was your guy, John. It is my guy. That doesn't excuse any of this. I do like his personality. I do want him to succeed. I do think he has a unique personality that is good in a lot of ways for where Notre Dame's at. None of that excuses what happened in Ohio State and what happened here and even what happened against Duke. It's not okay, bro. The other issue we need to address is this one. And I'll get to the phones. They're filling up. I'm sorry. I just have to get this stuff out. Here's the other issue. People are asking about that bye week not being till after week 8. Or is Notre Dame worn out? Are they too tired to whatever? What's going on? We looked a step and a half. We looked like we were running in quicksand against Louisville. On both sides of the ball, we looked so slow. Then you hear from the guys that were reporting for practice last week. They pulled off practice Tuesday and Thursday last week because guys were so sluggish and beat up and tired, I assume. They pulled off and lightened up what they were doing Tuesday and Thursday of last week. Whatever, that's where you're at. So if you want to blame the admin for that, the schedule makers, whatever it is, go for it. But that's the position you ended up in where they literally didn't feel like they could practice that as hard as they wanted because they're wound down. So here's my question to that. If you were worn down after going into last week and then you got your ass beat, how much more worn down are you this week? Like, it doesn't get any easier and nobody feels bad for you. These are the games. You don't have a bye till after this one. You got to play it and win it. Sorry. Nobody feels bad for you about that bye situation. I'm mad at the people that made it such. Okay, but hearing that they had to pull off practice because they didn't feel like they could go that hard without wearing down that's a bad sign, bro. It also makes you start wondering about the Bayless effect of him. Remember all that when he left quietly the week before the season? Starts getting in your mind of, are they getting worn down a little bit without that full-time guy? I don't know, but it's all bad. I don't know, but it's all bad. Okay, it is. Let's do a couple of the chats. $10 olive for D Daily. Parker better scheme this week like his football life depends on it, because it does. Can I jump on the line? I must get back to work. Oh, Daily. What's your number, Daily? I don't see a Daily on the caller thing. If you let me know, I'll do that so you could get back to work. Let me know your area code, bro. Mike, $10 olive. What Freeman wants to say is the OC wasn't and isn't his guy. He can't say what he wants to say. He knows the issues. You're worried too much about coach speak from an inexperienced coach. That could be, Mike. That could be. I think what people are looking for is reassurance that Freeman sees what we see. Mike, I think that's what this all comes down to at the end of the day is Notre Dame fans want to know Freeman's frustrated and sees what we see, but we all understand he can't say that in a presser. So then you end up just more frustrated. That's what's going on here, and I get it. I just think there were ways he could have delivered his messaging to not throw anybody individual under the bus, but also acknowledge that nothing's where you need it to be. And I would have liked to see him do that. $10 holler for V1. People need to stop blaming the O-line. They can't pick up a 9-person blitz every play for an hour while 4-star wide receivers can't get separation from their 2-star corners. V1, that's a fair critique. $5 holler. Anybody notice ESPN finally had the Notre Dame score on the front page after the game? For once, the app with the title. Louisville stops Notre Dame. Oh, at least we got into ESPN's radar somehow. Unbelievable. 484 Philly special. All right, I got you guys. We'll give it over to the callers here in a sec. Now, here's something else I want to say. While I acknowledge the vibes are horrific, the vibes are terrible. It doesn't feel like a Notre Dame USC week at all in any way, and everybody's upset. Here's the other thing I want to say. I have been ripping all of this. I'm beyond devastated at what it's looked like. It's totally unacceptable. We're trending the wrong way on all of it. I'm also not willing to let 2 losses turn into 3 or 4 or 5 in our minds before they do on paper. Does that make sense? Like, I'm very upset about what this all looks like, but I'm not marking 2 losses down as 3, 4, and 5 before we have them. Physically, Notre Dame can win all the games they have in front of them. And I know nobody would be happy with 10-2 or whatever when you had your goals on the playoff. This isn't where anybody wanted it. But one thing I'm not going to do is sit here and act like the USC game was already played and we lost it. I'm as mad as they come. I've been hard on Marcus, who's my guy and all that. I'm not marking us down for more than 2 losses yet. Notre Dame can beat USC. They are a flawed team in a lot of inverse ways that we are. They got doubt too. They have questions too. They didn't play great Saturday. They won it because they have the Heisman winner who made the play at the end to win it or whatever. They got issues too. I'm not acting like we've lost 4 or 5 games. It doesn't have to be that. Notre Dame's sitting at 2 losses, and I'm not going to put him down for 3 before this game is played. Go win the game. This is your rival. I understand everybody's sad, but you better wake the hell up. 2 losses is not 3, 4, 5 yet. So I'm not marking it down as that. Rise up and play good when everybody's counting you out. In the shitty weather at home, which matches all of our moods perfect. Outlined against a gray blue October sky. Let it rain and sleet and be all shitty. It would match where we're all at in our minds. Beautiful. Don't, as mad as you are and as mad as I am not marking us down for more than 2 losses until I have to. You got to quit acting like this game's over too. Notre Dame could play good and win it. Now, if you want to go, John, how much money are you willing to bet on that? I'm not saying the odds are good because Notre Dame's playing bad football. They're totally worn down and the offense is getting worse every week. This one's going to be a battle of bad offense and bad defense. Who do you like in that one? I don't know. But if this turns into any sort of shootout whatsoever, I don't care what their defense is like. I don't like our odds. That's my answer. If this comes down to some point fest, because both, their offense is so good and ours and their defense is bad. Who in their right mind could pick Notre Dame in a shootout style game against Caleb Williams? I don't care what the weather's like. No. So I don't know what you think the odds of all this are, but I'm not marking Notre Dame down for more than 2 losses till I have to. So if you want to do it, go ahead, but I'm not doing it. And I know that seems weird because I'm all mad, but man. Oh, boy. Let's get into these. 484, what's going on? 574-361-612 after. What's going on? Good morning.
Oh, am I on? This is Dan Daly.
Yep, you're up. What's going on, man? Thanks for the donation. What's up?
Yeah. So, hey, John, I kind of just have like a couple thoughts, not really even that related to each other. I don't know. Maybe we'll find like the common thread here.
Okay.
One, I want to say, and I kind of noticed this too, of watching you and watching some of the other Notre Dame YouTubers, that I actually feel like our spirits are a little bit higher. And I'll tell you why that is. Actually, spirits higher is not the right word. I would say cheerful. And that is because the offense is laughably bad. It is laughable. This is a real life nightmare. This is like 2022 all over again. Like I'm assuming you feel the same way.
Yeah, listen, man, it's just, in a lot of ways, I thought that Ohio State feeling afterwards would be as bad as it could get this year. This one feels worse because it brings in these big picture issues, if that makes sense. Like, that's what's hurting me, is you're forced to address these big picture concerns. The offense is getting worse and not better, and that is like the biggest red flag you could have halfway through a football. So they're literally getting worse and less imaginative and less creative and have less adjustments. It's a real, genuine concern. Even if you want to be a glass half full guy, that is a huge red flag, and they better figure out a way out in a couple days.
Yeah. And, John, I remember last year in 22, after the Marshall loss, okay, we don't need to rehash that. But I remember watching your show and you saying 10-2 is still on the table. And I remember I actually felt the same way, because I was like, oh, it's early in the season. We dropped 2 games. We can turn the ship around. And of course, I mean, that sort of happened. But for me, 8-4 is not turning the ship around at Notre Dame. And that's just unacceptable. And, I kind of think turning the ship around in college, it's almost like a fallacy, because, like a lot of us watch the NFL too, and maybe that kind of like poisons our mind a little bit. When you got NFL teams and they get into a slump, they can diagnose their problems and they can pivot pretty easily. And why is that? Because every player on the field is like, Kyron Williams, Kyle Hamilton, Chase Claypool, insert all great, world-class players. In college, you're kind of just stuck with the team that you have at the beginning of the season. And so I think last year, after the Marshall loss, that's why we didn't see that we were going to go on to have some other tough losses. And then now I had that same feeling where it's like, yeah, I honestly think we're just going to go 8-4 and we're going to be back in like the Cheez-It Bowl against Ole Miss or something like that.
Listen, that's completely fair. As I'm getting further away from the emotions of the Louisville game, my mind is saying, all right, John, in the preseason, you picked Notre Dame 10-2. Technically, that's still on the table, even though it isn't being built the way you looked. And I don't know if that's wishful thinking or me like trying to be Mr. Bright Guy for once. I'm just saying I'm not marking us down for more losses than we have. If you could somehow find a way to beat these guys in the rain, limp into the bye with your 2 losses, with the heaviest part of the schedule behind you, there is an opportunity there to grow some momentum. However, if you lay down and play dead and let USC shred you at your place after what you did last week, this bye week, that 2-week stretch is going to be a nightmare forever. It is going to get dark. And with no other game in there, it's just going to seep and grow deeper, and it's going to be very disturbing. You got to find a way to play good at home against your rival. You already had the storyline of Freeman, me saying you can't start out 0-2 against USC at Notre Dame. That's not okay. That storyline was going to be in here even if you blew out Louisville. So now there's a lot riding on this miserable USC game in this October sleet.
And, I was feeling a little bit better about the USC game today. And, I wrote the Parker comment earlier, and this is kind of why I feel better about it, is because I think that, Parker and Freeman know that if they lose this game, I mean, Parker for sure, he's already on the hot seat. I already don't foresee him coming back next year, but he knows if he loses this game, he's in some really deep water here.
Hey,
but
can I ask you this? Can I ask you this?
Yeah.
If Freeman feels like he has to make that change after the year because he needs a guy with more experience because he's inexperienced and whatever, and I'm not going to act like he didn't try and do that, but everybody needs to acknowledge an additional layer of frustration with this dynamic is this isn't Freeman's number one guy and everybody knows it. Like, I do want to protect Freeman in that regard. If you want to say he panicked, hired his buddy after the bad PR nightmare because Notre Dame messed up with Ludwig, fine. But I am going to acknowledge that's not Freeman's number one guy. He wanted a guy with more experience, and we all know it. So I do want to say that. Now, if you want to say he panicked and went down 2 doors down to put out the fire of the PR, nobody wants to be a ROC or whatever, you could do that. But if he needs to get rid of him, is that so awkward he leaves Notre Dame? Or do you say you're great at tight ends, go coach them still, but be in the building? I don't know how that goes. Or is that too awkward? Can you just bump it back to tight end?
Honestly, I think it would be too awkward.
Do you know what I'm asking? That's kind of a weird dynamic then.
Yeah, it is.
Promoted then demoted.
Yeah. My assessment would be probably Parker would not want to go back down to tight end coach. He'd probably be happy to go be an OC at like some MAC school or something like that. I would think.
Yeah.
But anyway, to finish my other thought, because the coaches are in such a tight spot, I'm hoping that motivates the players to just give it their all this weekend because they don't want to dig a deeper grave for their coaches. I think that's a dynamic that's fair. And hey, we'll see how it plays out.
All right. Now let me ask you this. This is something I wrote in my article for USA Today on concerns and confidences for this game. Even if Notre Dame players are mad and upset about what's happened and they have it in their minds that they're going to go out there and give it their all and whatever, fine. What if they're just so beat up going into 8 games in a row that the motor just isn't there? You saw it last week. It looked like we were running in slow motion. Then I hear they had to pull off a practice because they weren't getting work done because everybody was just so beat down. You don't have time for that this week. Nobody cares that your buys after this. You got to come ready. But I'm saying, what if they're this is not the game to be a step slow and tired on defense. I got news for you. So I'm nervous about that dynamic too.
No, absolutely. And honestly, if that's one of our biggest problems, it's honestly so discouraging because that means we are so far from elite because, like Bama and Ohio State have had a bunch of games in a row too. And I don't see them going out there as sleepwalking through games. So, I mean, man, if they can't get up for this one, I think that's even like more damning on the coaching staff. And it would really be indicative of just really deep problems, like all around in preparation, in the off season, even in recruiting, probably. I mean, so this game is going to tell us a lot about where we're at.
Man, and that's the other issue too is everybody's nailing Freeman for his inexperience and some of the decisions that have come from that in Ohio State or whatever's going on, not controlling the offense and whatever it is. And those are all legitimate. The reason you need to kind of stop the boat from sinking here is it's going to start affecting the one thing Freeman's best at, and that is recruiting. You can't out-recruit downright bad results on the field, no matter what your personality is and how good you look in your outfit. That's what needs to be avoided. And I also get frustrated with people going, this isn't working now with it. Play all the young guys. This year's over, whatever. This isn't the NFL. You can't tank and bottom out and then we get the number 1 pick. You're going to lose all your recruits. It doesn't work that way in college. So that isn't going to be an option either. You know, I've seen some don't even play Hartman anymore. Get the younger guys, bro. None of that's going to happen. None of that's going to happen.
No.
None of it.
Yeah, we have to play Hartman. I mean, honestly, I already view this season as, at this point, we're playing for recruits. Okay, we're playing to impress recruits. We're playing to retain recruits. Deuce Knight, whatever. Okay, I honestly think that's like we're already in damage control like that. Because even if we win out, I was looking at like rankings of people's records and everything. I still think if we win out, we miss a New Year's Six bowl. And like, congratulations, we're back in the Camping World Bowl, like best case scenario against like LSU. Like, not interested. Sorry.
Yeah. No, it was just the result. It couldn't be in a look the one way it couldn't look last week. There's no easy way out of this, and you got to figure out a way to pull this together, or there's a real possibility things unravel. That being said, USC is flawed. I am not marking us down for more losses than we have. I'm just not doing it. A lot of people are just down and out already, and I'm down, but I'm not counting us out in this game. And if we play like crap and sleepwalk and get dog walked at our own place, then I'm going to have an aneurysm on the postgame show, and we'll get into it. But I'm not giving us 3 or 4 or 5 losses before I have to. And I advise everybody to look at it that way. Be skeptical, be negative, expect the worst. But I'm not marking down more losses than we have yet. Even I'm not doing that, Mr. Negative. I'm not doing that. Win this game and shut some people up.
Yep, absolutely. John, last thought, and I'll give somebody else a chance to get on here. Especially a lot of Notre Dame folks, actually, they like to rag on the wide receiver room. Yeah. And sure, I get it. We want the wide receiver room to be better. At the same time, I think it's fair to say that our wide receiver room, just receiving core, okay, so let's include the tight ends in there too. Tight ends and wide receivers is probably easily a top 15, if at minimum top 20 unit in the country. I bet you a team like Duke would kill to have our wide receivers. And that just tells me that like this is like, it's like a philosophy or scheme issue. It's not just a talent issue. It's not. It's just not.
Yeah. And they did address when people asked, do you bring more people in the room when you're getting bogged down like this? I think Pete Sampson, somebody asked that. Might not have been him. Somebody asked, and is Gaduli involved? Like, what are we doing here? And it's like, oh, it's a collaborative effort or whatever. Well, then maybe you need to break up the band and everybody have solo careers then, because this collab is not, you're trending the wrong way, bro. And like the Faison thing, I love for him, but it is a big indicator of where Notre Dame's at. Like, I'm happy for him. He was the only guy that really made big plays back there. But it is a red flag of where Notre Dame's at. Like, it tells you walk-ons are making the biggest plays in your primetime night game at wide receiver at Notre Dame. That is a big indicator of where you've been at and where you're still at.
Absolutely.
Hey, man.
Parting shot.
Yep, go ahead. I'm going to give you the last word. Thanks for the donation, buddy.
Maybe we should all petition Beats headphones to pull Sam Hartman's NIL, and maybe he'll play a little bit better.
Telling you, man, that guy's got to be really frustrated, and so am I, and everybody is. This is a long week, man. Nobody's in the right mood. There are no typical Notre Dame USC vibes. Everything's messed up. The rainy weather's going to line right up, and I don't know what we're going to get. But I am not putting us down for 3 losses until it's a fact. I'm not doing it. And I'll deal with what happens, but I'm not giving us a loss we don't have yet, man. Anything else on the way out? Thank you for the donation.
No, go Irish. Talk to you soon.
Thank you, man. Really appreciate it. It's really nice of you guys to donate when you want to jump in and all that. I appreciate it. Let's get to some other callers that have donated. 361-574. I'm going to get to Dr. John and 910-562. You're going to be the next up. 361. Nobody's having fun. What's going on?
What's up, John? Hey, first off, happy birthday.
Oh, thank you, man.
I believe you were born in
84.
Yeah, I was saying, I believe you're born in 84 like I am. So I already turned 39. It's not that great. Just a heads up.
I figured.
You're more sore doing things you've been doing all your life.
I know.
But 40's the big one, so maybe it'll be more fun. And let's just get a birthday win for you on Saturday.
That's all I ask for, Mike. Every other year when we have him at home, it's second week in October. And I say all Johnny wants for his birthday is find a way to beat these Hollywood phonies. So, Mike, where are you at this week, man? It is a odd vibes. Nobody's in a good mood. Everybody's negative. Like, I'm not marking us down for losses we don't have yet. USC's flawed as well. It's going to take Notre Dame playing much better to do anything. But where are you at on all this, man? We're in a weird set of circumstances and timing as Notre Dame fans. What do you make of where we're at?
Well, just talking about USC, Notre Dame, something's got to give. Something has to give. USC's offense in total is third in the country. Passing offense is second in the country. But the one thing that makes them a little bit different is in past years, their rushing offense has been like bottom third, but not this year. They're like 40-something in rushing, which isn't great, but compared to what they've been previously, this is a step in the right direction for them. Notre Dame's defense is not an issue, despite a few people in the chat saying the defense hasn't looked good. I don't know what defense
Mike,
they're watching.
All right, let me give you this. You respond to this. Let me push back on you on one little part of this and see what you say, okay? Overall, that Notre Dame defense is doing well enough that if they had a real-life offense, they should be winning these games like they are. Even Louisville, where they got worn down, if the offense didn't turn it over 90 times and go 3 and out or whatever, then maybe, they did enough. They didn't play great football against Louisville, but it was enough with the real offense. You could have won it. Here's my one complaint, Mike. They're keeping you in these games. The tackling has been bad. And my issue is, even the numbers they're putting up, the tackling has been bad. You can't do that against USC. You miss a tackle in the hole against USC, and it's 7 points. You miss a tackle on a wide receiver, it's a touchdown. That is one of the things that make me nervous is we are not a good tackling team, and against Williams, that could kill you alone. That's my one thing I'm going to say about that D.
No, 100%. We talked. I called in Monday. We talked. We mentioned Leah Fowl and DJ Brown. I don't love calling players by name, but I mean, you got to. What we're seeing it. The angles are bad, missed tackles, out of control, and yes, Williams can be very elusive, as we saw last year. I'd like to think we've got a different plan for that.
Oh, no. You better not like to think. There better be, because the plan to cover him last year was an embarrassing one that made us look like clowns with 8 of our guys diving in a circle behind the line of scrimmage and now one of them getting to the guy. You got to do a better job. You got to set up that bracket thing again. They tried to do earlier in the year at NC State. Bracket the guy where you're getting guys upfield but not behind the quarterback to keep him in that box. It's going to be a pain in the ass. I hope it's windy and rainy and all that. Give me all that.
Yes. So I wanted to lead with the defense. I'm in sales. You start with the bad and then with the good. Or how do I phrase it? You make it a nice little sandwich. But offense isn't good, so I shouldn't have said it that way. But I want to talk about the offense, and here's my issue. You alluded to it already, and somebody mentioned it. You mentioned it. The knocking the offensive line, talking about the play calling, and like rotating the offensive line like musical chairs. Then you see these clips being put out.
Desperation, bro. I don't get it. I don't understand what was going on.
I don't care. But that's the thing. I don't care what offensive line rotation you want to throw out there. If there's 9 defenders and 7 blockers, I don't care if it's the 1993 for Dallas Cowboys offensive line. They're not blocking those guys. Math is a problem this year, okay? We don't have 11 guys. We don't understand that 9 is more than 7.
Yeah, math is a big problem. Hey, Mike, let me make you feel better about that. I'm sure you saw those tweets where USC media was breaking down plays where they had only 10 guys on the field last week. They're tweeting about it like, how could this happen with only 10 guys out there? What is Lincoln doing? Like, and I responded with, hey, we would never do that. Oh, just kidding. We'll see you in a week. So USC did the same thing with 10. I don't know what's going on, bro, but numbers is hard. Math is hard. I was told Notre Dame people were smarter than that. Come on, bro. These are low numbers.
Well, my quick defense on USC is the way they're putting up points and playing offense. They probably think it's 7-on-7, so they didn't know, and they just accidentally didn't have enough guys. But for Notre Dame's side, I mentioned it, the coach speak, and you said it exactly how I would have said it. So you've addressed it. But that's what's bothering me is the total dismissal of what we're seeing. And then again, we're seeing on tape. We go back and watch the game, and it's like, how for 4 quarters are you not adjusting and recognizing that this isn't going to work? I don't care how perfectly it's blocked. I don't care how perfectly it's put into practice what you've been practicing on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. That's not going to work on Saturday if they've got 9 and we've got 7. How are we not making use of other options? And if you don't do it against USC, because I said it on Monday, if you're USC, I'm putting 8-9 in the box, and let's see if Notre Dame's smart enough to adjust out of it. And if they get burned, then they'll adjust. But we're outthinking ourselves. We've got no audibles. We've got no basic. I said it on my show.
Dude, it makes sense, though. When you don't have anything to rely on to begin with, you definitely don't have anything to pivot to. I don't know what their identity is, what they want to do, who they want to be. Freeman talks about being an O-line and a D-line driven team. Well, you're not, though. You're getting bullied in both those areas for every week. Like, you're not that, though. So you're not what you say you want to be. It's a bad spot to be in, bro.
Well, the Louisville game, you had no chance to be O-line U when you go back and rewatch the game and see that there was never an opportunity to be O-line U when you're outnumbered. I don't care how good you think whoever you roll out there, from Alt to Fisher to Coogan to Spindler to Kristofic to Corral, name anybody. If you don't have enough guys, it doesn't matter how good you think they are. Numbers are numbers, and you're not going to win 100 times out of 100 when you're outnumbered. And if you have no pivot, that's a problem.
Yeah. And they're grasping at straws and moving the guards in the center the way they did. There was, I think, up to 4 different lineups out there. That was not the moment for that experiment in the middle of all of that was going on there and that building and how loud it was. And you're in a tight game for most of it. Like, if you wanted to try different guards, I think you start them in the game and practice like that so that guys know who's by him or whatever. Seem very desperate to be doing all that in the moment. And by the way, I want to add, those guys got bull rushed right when they got in anyways. So I don't know, whatever you were trying to see, you didn't get the result you wanted. Those guys got pushed back into the quarterback anyways. So I don't know where this leaves us, man. Yeah. What do you do this week, then? What do you do this week? I know their defense is bad, but so is our offense. I don't know what gives.
I know. But just to finish the O-line thought, that's like your engine in your car isn't working properly, so you change the tires. Like, that's not
right.
You were outnumbered. It was, you were doing stuff unnecessarily. But going into this week, you have to. They better, behind closed doors, be as self-reflective as they've ever been in terms of what they're seeing on film and how we can combat it. Because you said it, quick slants behind all that is begging to be utilized.
We don't do that. We're not allowed to do that. We're not allowed to do that. Every other team in America does it. We're not allowed to run a bunch of those. I don't know, dude. And the other thing is, man, I am worried about where this team is at. Like, they can't come out and look all sluggish and not interested to play their rival at home. everybody's going to lose their mind. Like, they need to find a way to create some energy that wasn't there last week and wasn't there against Duke. You got to figure it out. This is a big moment for Marcus Freeman. I feel like we say that every week. It's just, they're all big. It's just what's on the line, dude. You got to stable this ship quick.
Yeah, this one's huge. And I say that because USC, just like Ohio State, it is so beatable this year.
Yeah.
You don't know what's going to happen next year. You can argue that Hartman has not been what we thought he was, but we saw what he's capable of. So I don't totally buy he's not what we thought he was. There's bigger issues happening, but nonetheless, USC is absolutely beatable, and you got to have this one because of the Notre Dame USC rivalry, because of what USC's defense is, and what we've seen our offense to be.
Yeah.
That's the most frustrating and confusing part. It'd be different if through the first 4 games we were barely getting to 30, but we were putting up 45, 50 points. It didn't seem that difficult to do. What was it? 11 of 12 possessions.
Hey, but Mike, what if the answer is there's a clear line here? What if the answer is Notre Dame's offense has always been bad, but against the first 4 teams that are bad, it doesn't matter what you run. Notre Dame has better athletes. It's going to look fine. And then what a coincidence. We get into the stretch against real teams and we don't score at all. Maybe it's that simple, man. They thought they had it figured out because they were playing bad teams. And then right when we get into the stretch against good teams, it's like pulling teeth to put up a point.
Yeah, but even the play calling adjusted from my perspective.
Yeah.
And if you want to go down that route, I will happily do it because USC is worse than some of the defenses we played to start the year, by the way. They're worse than North Carolina State.
Yeah. No, you're right about that. The problem is you're going to be in a shootout, though, on the other side, and you weren't against – that's the issue. Because I think even if Notre Dame's defense plays good, Caleb Williams is going to make some plays. Those guys are going to put up some points. Notre Dame's going to have to score touchdowns, not field goals, touchdowns in this game. Can they do it? I don't know.
Yeah, the scary part is Caleb Williams is arguably more successful as a quarterback when it's not to script based on how the play was supposed to go.
That makes me nervous. And the way we tackle only adds to that fear in my world.
Yeah, we're almost better off. Again, easier said than done, but keeping him in the pocket and whatnot, going straight forward. When he gets to go side to side, back behind the line of scrimmage, it's scary.
He's just going to buy time for 9 seconds, and eventually one of those athletes will be wide open 40 yards down the field. It happened all last year, and I'm not here for that. Yeah. That's the other thing, Mike. Nobody's in the mood to see that guy clown us again at our place. We were never going to be in the mood, but after the last few weeks, no one's in the mood. I'm just going to lose my mind. So they have to have a better defensive plan to put on that kid. I don't know, man. Anything else on the way? I'll give you the last word here.
The only thing I'll say is I do think Notre Dame's offense finds a way to make this game entertaining and interesting. I don't know if I'm ready to say Notre Dame wins. I really wholeheartedly am not. But looking at USC's defense compared to the first 4 defenses we played, I do think we see a 35, 40-point Notre Dame offense. But if our D-line can't contain Caleb Williams, I don't care who's out there playing in the secondary, Kyle Hamilton, Deion Sanders, whoever, they're not covering those guys for 5-6 seconds. It's just not happening. So it'll be interesting, but I am excited. I think we get a good game Saturday night.
Yeah, I hope so, man. Those guys need to realize this is still USC at home, and it's still a big deal. I need that emotion to be there from them, and I just need them to play better and get it right this week. This thing's teetering right now, so got to get it right. Hey, Mike, thanks for the donation and the call, man. Really appreciate it. Have a good day.
Always. Go Irish.
Take care, brother. Oh boy, couple chats and then we'll go right back to the calls. Andrew, why does everybody care about the press conference? Sick and tired of all that talk and headlines. The issues are on the field. Why is Freeman's physical team getting pushed around by ACC teams? Great question. And that's kind of what I brought up before that call of Freeman talks about being O-line and D-line driven. Well, you ain't doing a good job then, bro. If that's your DNA, you better, you're not doing that. You ain't doing that. So you got problems. And again, why does everybody care about the press conference? I know why. When things go bad, people are looking to hang on every single word for something else to blame and be mad at and analyze. That's why the second this press conference was over, everybody was tweeting and writing about this and had an opinion. When things are going this clearly bad, the heat gets ratcheted up and everybody's hanging on every word, looking to tear it all down. That's why. That's how this goes. This is not new. This is the media. When things are good, you could do whatever you want, joke around up there, and you're winning, and winning cures all, and all of that. When you're not, things get real, real fast. And nobody was in the mood to hear that those plays were okay to call when the math says that they weren't, and an idiot at their house can see it. You don't have to be a coach. Crying Belly's back. John has found a new scapegoat in Parker to relieve Freeman of responsibility. Again, you got to be intellectually smart enough to be able to navigate multiple things at once. Like, I've been nailing Freeman. I've been getting heat for how much I'm nailing Freeman. It hurts me to nail Freeman, but I got to nail him. What we're seeing is unacceptable. So I don't know what else you want me to say. Freeman's got to get better, and Parker needs to get better. None of it's good enough. I don't know what else you want me to say. They're not firing Freeman after this year, no matter what. I don't know what you want me to say. It's not good enough. He's got to be better, and so does everybody else. I don't know any other way to put it. I've been nailing Freeman. There's been nothing here where I'm going, Freeman's doing a great job. Back off my guy. That has not been my message. So I don't know what you want from me. John wants better coach speak. Well, I'm not going to get the truth, so at least give me better coach speak. Yeah. You know what, Mike? I don't even feel bad about that. Yeah, you're damn right. What if I do? I don't expect the truth, but I expect better coach speak. There you go. 574, give me some more. What's going on? Welcome to the show.
Oh, how you doing, buddy?
I mean, I'm just struggling. It's just an awkward week, and everybody's in a bad mood, and it's just the vibes are all off for what they should be heading into USC. Where are you at?
Oh my God, in South Bend, first of all.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, I saw that.
Well, going back to Louisville, which I really don't want to do, but it's to look at how we're going to go forward. I have some questions. But first of all, looking back at the last game with Louisville, they came out of the gate on fire. And what was Notre Dame's response? Stop, drop, and roll over. That's what it was.
Can I ask you this? Am I too judgmental that even early on in that game, even after the first interception on the first drive, they're panning over to the Notre Dame sideline? Everybody on Notre Dame's sideline looked to be a zombie to me. They looked down and out and worn down and like they had no interest in being there. I'm talking the entire sideline looked just kind of like out of it, like they weren't really excited to be there tonight. That is the vibe I got off my TV. Did anybody else pick that up?
Yep.
Our guys did not match that energy at all, and it's unacceptable.
I got worried right from the get-go. They were catatonic.
It looked that way. It did. It looked that way. Freeman had that look in his eye a little bit. Hartman looked like he wasn't interested after night. I know it's not fair to make those accusations, but I'm just saying, compared to the energy and the vibe on their side, our guys were in a coma. And you're not going to win a game in that kind of environment when you come out that way. And it's your responsibility to come out ready for the moment. And they didn't, and I hate it.
Yeah. I had to take a Xanax today before I called you.
I'm telling you.
The big picture in my mind from Saturday night's game was Joe Alt getting put on his back like two times at least, 3 times put on his back, and he was supposed to be the number 1 offensive tackle in the NCAA. No. His stock in the NFL has just dropped a little bit after watching that.
Yeah. And then, dude, I think Fisher's been injured a lot of this year or something, because he is not playing the way that I don't think people expected him to want to leave early and all that too. So I don't know what's going on there. But if you're mad about the tackles, just wait till you get to the interior.
Oh yeah. And then we're doing an experiment in mid-season.
Yeah.
With the offensive. I'm like, I don't get it. I don't get that.
Me neither. It seemed desperate, man. It just came off very desperate, like you're throwing a bunch of stuff at the wall. And that's not the vibe I need halfway through the year.
And Luafau, he was surprised me earlier this season. It's like, man, he's got a head on his shoulders this year. But against Louisville, he took 3 steps back. I'm like, he was going in the opposite direction where the ball was going. I'm like, what are you looking at?
Yeah.
And then the missed tackles, well, that gets me to I have some questions here for you.
Okay.
Just general questions. When are we going to see this team get pissed off and have some emotions? In these press conferences, putting Bertrand up there, and that he's the worst guy to put up there.
I'm gonna say this, man.
The
those guys came out, and I was completely satisfied with how ready they were to match the situation against Ohio State. I was proud of the guys because the reason they lost that wasn't an inability to match the energy or get up for that moment. Those guys were in that environment, and whatever happened, but they were at least mentally and emotionally prepared to meet the moment. They have not been since. And it makes you wonder, is this all the Ohio State hangover? Like, is that what this is? And you escaped it against Duke, but now it caught up with you. This team looks drained. And it just can't be. Nobody feels bad for Notre Dame. They play 8 games in a row. Nobody gives a crap. You got to be ready for the moment.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. This is big boy ball, Nobody's going to feel sorry for you. This is what's been handed to you, and you have to respond in kind. That's the way it goes. That's the way life is. Yeah. When you get smacked in the mouth, what do? You get up and you smack back. So this is
it's a big moment. It's a big moment, man. This is, dude, everybody in Notre Dame Nation, if they're not going to the game in their wetsuit, they're going to be tuning in the TV. And I know the vibe. People are going to be going, oh boy, what are we going to get today? And nobody's going to have any idea whether the team's sleepwalking zombies that are soaking wet, or if they're pissed off, ready to go. You don't know, man. This team's so unpredictable. You can't rely on anything good or bad. I have no idea what we're going to get anymore at all. No idea. They're all over the map. No idea.
Yep. It was like, against Louisville, all season, we had this great kicker. I mean, he can kick it 70 yards, but he's not accurate. But in the Louisville game, he hits his field goal.
Yeah.
So he's getting his points, but the rest of the team isn't.
It's
like they can never get. They can never get the offense and the defense and the special teams all working together.
Yeah.
It's just frustrating as hell.
Man, isn't that the story of the last 20 years?
About Notre Dame. I'm ticked about Notre Dame. I'm ticked. Just absolutely ticked off.
Yeah.
Take it out on them.
This is
See, I'm getting all worked up again.
You need another Xanax. Yeah, I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry I did this to you. You called. I don't want to cause you bad health because you called me, man. But you're right, though. For the last 20 years, man, Notre Dame has been unable to line up all phases of the game to be pointing up. If we have a good defense, we have a bad offense. If we have a good offense, we have a bad defense. Like, we have never been able to line everything up where you feel like it's in the place you want it for going into a year. That's never happened. It's wild. It's wild.
Yep. Not since Holtz. Since Holtz. That's it. And then here we are, they got to get turnovers, especially against USC. Get them off the field.
Yeah.
If my stats are right, Notre Dame this season so far has forced 11 fumbles and only gotten 2.
Yeah, I know. What are the odds on that? Like the way the ball bounces, man, it hasn't gone our way. Isn't that wild? Like, I don't even know what the percentages are. And that just depends where a ball bounces and who falls on it. And it's going against us. I don't know, bro. I don't know.
I have no prediction on this game. I don't know what the score is going to be. I don't know which way it's going to go.
No, that's totally fair. There's almost no way to predict how Notre Dame's going to play week to week if you're going to be the way they are. There's no way to know if they're going to show up, if they're going to look engaged, and if they're going to play real football or lay down. I have no idea. I have hope, but I have no idea. That's fair.
Yeah. And I say right now, go full scorched earth. If Notre Dame loses this game, I go full scorched earth. Any of those seniors that are on that field right now, pull them, get the freshmen in there.
That's hard,
put
man.
Put Drake Bowen in there and give them the time.
Yeah.
Because at this point, who cares?
I know, but
if they go, if they're 9-3 after Saturday, then I don't care if they lose the rest of their games. Get the young guys in there. The other ones are going to be gone.
Yep.
They're going to be gone.
And you do realize that that's what we say when we're frustrated, but they are not going to do that because they want, you know what I mean? They want to get more wins, even if they don't matter to us, and not lose your recruiting class and bottom out. It's extremely frustrating, man. We should not be in this position. This is not how I envision the ramp up to USC feeling and what we're talking about. So I don't know, man, but I don't know what we're going to get. But the number one thing is I need to see that fire and that effort. If you can't get up for USC at home, regardless of anything else, you don't belong in Notre Dame. Like, I'm sorry. You don't have the mentality. I mean that. If you're not able to get excited to play them in your place as you're our tribal and a guy that clowned you and you handed him the Heisman on a silver platter last year, if you don't get up for that, you don't belong in Notre Dame. You're not playing Notre Dame football. I don't need you around the team. You don't get it. Your mind isn't with it. I can't have that.
Yep. You got to have an animal attitude.
Yep. You need more
of
that.
You get the opportunity to play. You play your lights out.
Yep.
Like there's no tomorrow.
Yep.
That's the way you got to face every one of these games.
I want to see it.
Is it emotionally draining? Yes, it is. But that's why you signed up at Notre Dame.
Yep. And
that's why you signed up for it.
You want to talk about, they always talk about choosing hard or whatever that is. Well, you're choosing hard. You have 8 weeks in a row with no bye and a bunch of good teams.
As a matter of fact, John, I think they had midterms this week.
Yep. And so it's a challenge, and we're going to find out a lot about this team and the leadership on this team and the buy-in with the coaching staff and the leadership with the players. Like, they need to look and feel very different. Anything else on the way out, man? Thank you. I don't mean to get your blood pressure up in the morning. Thanks for calling and donating. I'm serious. I don't want to do that to you. Let me take that burden. I don't want to do that to you.
Oh, no. I've handled it. I can handle it.
Beautiful. Well, thanks a lot, man. Try and enjoy the rest of the week. Give me a call back later in the week.
Yeah, we'll do, John.
Have a good one, buddy. Take care. Oh, man. I don't want it to get where people got to take a Xanax before they call me, but that might be where we're at. We're going to go Dr. John 910 that donated 562-707. You're going to be the next ones up. Dr. John, make us feel better, man. People are in a weird place, brother.
Good morning. You read any good books lately?
The last good book I read was from Notre Dame grad Jack Sacco, Where the Birds Don't Sing, about his dad's experience in World War II and all of that. That's the last good book I read.
Yeah, I'm just trying to avoid the pain a little bit here.
John, people are in a bad spot. John, people are really down in it. Like, people are in a very, very dark place. And I don't want to let 2 wins turn into more that aren't in reality yet. I'm just telling you, man, people are very upset and they are down. And that is not the vibe we want running into USC week.
I don't know, maybe the pain is commensurate with the expectations. I mean, I felt worse after this game than I did after Marshall last year. I don't know what the dynamics are, but
that makes sense, John.
It just was like,
John,
there goes the season.
It makes sense, though. And because the expectations are different in your mind of what this was supposed to look like, especially offensively and with Hartman and all that. And I get it, man. The reason this one hurts so much is it forces you to have to address these big picture questions. And that's just not where you want to be right now. And that's what I'm struggling with, is these bigger picture issues that are coming into play now. They're not good. You want to avoid that. And we're in a rough spot, man. They got to play good in the bad weather. Let's go.
Yeah. I mean, here I am in the usual position with Southern Cal. Expectations are high, yet there's this thing in my gut that we can't beat these guys. So, I mean, it's like the angel on one shoulder and the devil on the other, arguing about it. So.
Dr. John,
one thought
did you see this? The weather is supposed to be crappy. And I saw a tweet from yesterday's USC practice, and one of the coaches has one of those like weed killer spray cans, and he's spraying water on those guys catching punts and balls to try and simulate the South Bend weather. It cracked me up, dude. He's out there with the hose spraying those guys as they're catching balls. I'm like, and I tweeted back at him. I go, I don't know if you've been to South Bend, but you need a bigger nozzle because it's going to be worse than that. But it cracked me up, dude.
Yeah.
So the vibe is totally weird and I hate it. And it's not healthy and everybody's miserable. It's like a big cloud hanging over South Bend. USC's coming to town. You got to beat these guys this year. Come on. Figure something out.
Well, in my heart, I know they can beat them. But that's still that feeling in the gut like it's going to be impossible type thing. So both of those emotions are warring with each other.
Yeah.
One of the thoughts I had after this game, though, after I, you feel like, oh God, there's the season, it's gone. And my thought was, you know what? Maybe this is another reason to be in a conference. Because that loss would say, okay, fine, we can still win the conference. And do something.
There's a couple angles. There's a couple angles with that. One is the big picture angle that you're talking about. The other is the officiating. Multiple Notre Dame beat guys have said, you want to know why Notre Dame has trouble with officiating? When you're the one that's the outlier and you don't want to join the conferences and you let them officiate your games, you should expect a little anti-Notre Dame there, whether it's open or behind closed doors. And then the third thing is, that's a part of the reason you ended up with 2 months of games before you had a bye, is your independence and where you fit in the ACC scheduling. There's a lot that goes into that angle of this. And then you could say it only matters for this year because if you get into next year, it's a 12-teamer and you have more leeway. So I don't know. Pick your lane on that one.
Well, yeah, I don't know, John. I have not watched one video. I did not watch Wake Up the Echoes. I did not watch a news conference. I just didn't want to go through anything more about that frickin' game Saturday night.
Yeah. It was really bad.
You know, it's gonna take a win. I mean, if we beat Southern Cal on Saturday, that flips, at least for me, it just flips the emotions right around. I mean, sometimes I feel like I'm 10 years old again.
I know.
I mean, back in that day, man, it just devastated me.
But John, wait, I was talking about this last night with my family. We were having some dinner for my birthday, and it was like the elephant in the room is Notre Dame, but none of us wanted to talk about it. It was that's how it goes with us. But here's the thing, dude. These swings are so drastic with Notre Dame, from what you almost did against Ohio State to what it ended up being. And then the Duke, all the feelings of Duke, and then into this one, bro, this is a severe roller coaster. Like, we're not exaggerating it. Notre Dame is literally giving you the extremes of the extremes.
Yeah, that was, well, I had two comments. I think I actually chatted, put it in chat on Saturday night before I just turned it off. Hartman was terrible. And I mean, he missed receivers. The one interception I say was on him, but the second one I didn't think was on him.
Yeah.
But anyway, the other thing was that call on 4th down. You had over 7 minutes left. Your 4th and 11, punt the frickin' ball. So,
John, let me ask you this.
But anyway,
John, let me ask. I want your opinion. Let me see your opinion on this. I think Freeman.
All right.
I think Freeman showed his frustration with the last few weeks in that moment, and he was very frustrated and agitated, and maybe decided pretty quick on that out of that frustration. He also may have honestly felt like our defense is totally out of gas. We're not going to stop them. We need the offense to do something here. So, yeah, I just think he was caught up in a moment. And, of course, you feel a lot better about 4th and long when you have wide receivers you trust out there. And when your best one is a walk-on, it's kind of hard to the guy you made the biggest play in the game for the wide receivers is a walk-on. It's kind of rough, man. It's rough. These are rough times, John.
Well, I agree with you as far as where Freeman was emotionally or mentally, but I was screaming at the TV, no, punt the ball, take a timeout, talk about it,
Yeah.
I mean, but, who knows?
Yeah. So, John,
I mean, here I am second guessing, and I don't like people second guessing. So.
I know, but some of this stuff is like so off the grid, John, that it begs those questions. Some of this is outside even the norm of questioning. Like I'm sorry, and so this is going to be a very awkward game, a very awkward build-up. The home crowd's going to be weird. Yet they're already all miserable. Paid a lot for this game, expecting it to be something it's not going to be. Then they're going into the weather. It is going to be a weird home vibe, and I am not looking forward to it. It's going to be off and weird, and it's a weird setup, man. I don't like it at all.
Well, and crowd-wise, there could be a lot less noise. I mean, first of all, some people won't go into the stadium. They'll try to find a place to watch it. The other thing is, I don't know how many students are going to be around. It's break time.
Yeah. No, that's a good point, too. Maybe some stay because it's USC week. That's a good point. So I don't know, John, but Notre Dame needs to get right fast, and there is no medicine like beating USC. And if you don't, then we'll have to deal with whatever that looks like. But I want to see Notre Dame fight. I want to see them run out of that tunnel and appear like they want to be in this battle and that they have some juice, man. I need to see that. Show me you care. I want to see it.
I would like to see the juice they had for that Clemson game last year. That's what I'd like to see.
Yeah, and you know why I like you bringing that one up, John, is because that's very good by you, because Notre Dame already was done with the national conversation and had too many losses by then also. I like you picking that one as a reference because loss-wise, it's kind of similar where you're out of the playoff and you still find a way to get to that level in your mind. I like that. That's a good parallel.
Yeah, and unfortunately, the special teams were big in that game, and we don't have that same vibe.
Nope. Regression in most areas, and it's unfortunate and it's frustrating, but it really is obvious they've taken a step back in mostly all areas there. So, John, I don't know, man. It's very unfortunate. This is not the build-up we wanted to have. But I'm open to Notre Dame surprising us and playing good and getting. I'm open to it. I don't know what the odds are, but I'm not saying it's impossible either. I'm not counting us for more losses than we have, and I think you're a guy that usually would appreciate that approach.
Well, I know we can beat these guys if we play our game. So I'm going to turn you loose. A belated happy birthday. I got to go over the pass to Bozeman right now. So
all righty. Well, hey, man.
Let's go Irish.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's good to touch base.
Hopefully I can watch on Friday and at least read some of the chats. I haven't read a chat all week.
Yeah, well, good for you, man. Yeah, only take what you want to take. I don't blame you, but we'll be in touch, man. Have a good one.
Okay. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Yep, see ya. Oh, man. John refuses to acknowledge that through 3 games, Fartman has been worse than Pine with more talent around him than Pine. Don't think I've ever heard him mention that Fartman had 4 turnovers either. Bro, none of it's good enough. None of it's good enough. I'm sorry. None of it's good enough. Hartman wasn't good in that game. I don't know what you want me to say. He looked disengaged. None of it's good enough. I don't know what you want me to do or say. Nobody's doing a good enough job. And then it's like, I'm trying to not let these trolls get to me. First it was, John's finding every reason not to nail Freeman for this stuff. Then I nail Freeman, and then now that's not good enough, and now I'm not nailing Hartman enough. It's just always a mission to say whatever I'm doing isn't enough. None of it's good enough right now. Everything's bullshit. None of it's good enough. Nobody's doing a good enough job. Does that help? Am I covering enough ground? No one's doing a good enough freaking job. I don't like the way any of it looks. Nobody's doing a good enough job. But you're not going to get rid of Freeman right now, and you're not going to not have Hartman right now. Like, you got to figure out ways to make what's going on better. Because you can't snap your fingers, and the head coach is going to be different, and the OC is going to be different. And we're going to have USC's wide receivers. Like, that ain't the reality. The parts you have to do better. Nobody's doing a good enough job. Blame everybody. Just a rough week, man. 910, what do you know? I got 562-707 and 224 coming up next. 910, what's up?
What's up, Johnny? How you doing today, bud?
I'm stressed out, man. Nobody's themselves. Nobody's in a good place, and everybody's on edge. Everybody's jumpy. It's just really a bad dynamic, and I don't like it at all. That's where I'm at.
I'm right there with you, my brother. It's been a crazy week. I called you a few weeks ago after the Ohio State loss, and kind of my theme was don't overlook Duke, don't overlook Louisville, because the theme that night was like, hey, we were so close. We should have won that game, and wait till we get to USC. And I said, slow your roll, guys. You watch out for Duke, watch out for Louisville. And we are, John, just let's be honest, we are a 4th and 16 scramble away from staring down the barrel of 4 straight losses. You know it, I know it, and I mean, Caleb Williams is going to be a problem, and I actually don't like the weather call for Saturday. I hope it's nice or nicer than it's scheduled to be, because like Dr. John said, this game does kind of have that Clemson vibe from last year, but the special teams have regressed to the Brian Kelly era, and they are horrific.
Yeah.
Between missed kicks and everything else, I mean, we made plays in that game.
There's hidden yardage too. There's hidden yardage. The kick returns have been bad. What we allow has been a little loose. Like, you're not blocking anything. You're not there. It's regression. I got a guy with a 900-mile leg, but I have no idea what direction. I give him credit for being more accurate the other night, but overall, I still have that in my mind. It's not good enough either. And so I don't know, man, but how are you looking at this USC game? They are flawed too. I am just worried that we might be more flawed to the extent where I don't know if we can take advantage of their flaw. Their defense is so bad, but I still think our offense might be worse than their defense is bad. So where does that leave you?
Our offense is worse than their defense.
That's what I'm worried about.
I know that they're absolutely getting shredded on defense. That there is no denying that, but our offense is worse. My theme for this week has been watching the tape, watching the first 5 games, and saying, "Wow, we don't have any pre-snap motion." And then when we do move pre-snap, that person who's moving gets the damn ball every time. It's so predictable. It is a high school level offense. It's pathetic. It is pathetic. I mean, I've seen more advanced high school offenses. I'm not fucking joking. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm not joking. It's obnoxious.
But
John.
why is that? But why is that? Is that because they're running what
the
they
first 4
think?
games are fake news, bro.
Is it what they're running what they think they can run? Or is this really what they think is a good offense? Or are they looking at the personnel and go, we can't run anything more advanced, we got to pare it down? Or is Parker so disconnected from what modern good play calling is, he has no idea to start? Like, that's another part of this. Is I'm just trying to figure out what goes into building the plan we have that nobody likes and doesn't get executed. How do we even get to that?
I think somebody mentioned it earlier this week in one of your shows about identity and what we had. And we, at the beginning of the year, were a downhill running team. I think maybe Pat said it. And we were a downhill running team, and that was our identity. And then because we ran the ball so well, we got shots down the field. Things opened up down the field to be able to score all those points that we saw in those first few games. Everybody's been figured out. They're now stacking the box against us and saying these wide receivers are not good enough to beat us on the outside. Who has the most receptions and the most yards for Notre Dame? Mitchell Evans. And he didn't really emerge until the Ohio State game. He had mediocre games leading up to that because we were beating those cupcakes on the outside, and the wide receivers were getting theirs. Now we're back to the same old Notre Dame, where if you don't throw it to Michael Mayer or Mitchell Evans or whatever 50 times, it's going to be it's going to be a long, long night, and the receivers never win. And it's really, really starting to get on my nerves because I think there's talent there. I just don't think they're coached up very well. And I don't think the scheme to be put in place, moving them around a little bit, get them moving, get the defense to think a little bit. They all stand still. Watch the tape, John. If you watch, I'm sure you have, they all are in the same spot before pre-snap every single offensive play. And when someone does move, that person gets the ball. It's so predictable. Like, I don't break down tape, and I can see it. I know everybody, all the fans, everybody, people like you, people like everybody in this, on this chat can see it. It's so obvious.
But how does Notre Dame not recognize that when we're all dummies on our couches and you see a formation, you go, oh God, I know what's coming here and it's going to run into a wall. If we all know that, how does this staff not see that? Or do they think it doesn't matter if everybody knows what's coming? We're going to execute it anyways because we're tough. Well, I got news for you. That ain't working either. You ain't tough.
I know. It really is. I mean, we can see it. And then our head coach goes in front of the media and says, if we just execute better, if we just run the ball better, if we just tackle better. You know what, John, if my aunt had balls, she'd be my uncle, bro. I mean, like, what are we doing? Like, if, like, we have no identity. He needs to get in his ear and be like, okay, we need to do something different. I mean, I sound dejected because I am, man. I'm so every week. I told my wife, I was like, I plan my weekends around Notre Dame football. I was like, I really think I'm debating stopping doing that.
You'll still do it. You're addicted to the misery, and we're all gonna say that and still watch it, be all wrapped up in it. So let me ask you this though. They have a suspect defense. We all know that. And our offense is struggling. What do you think they could maybe try to execute this week and provide a new look or a new energy or something? Like, one idea I had is I want more of those tight ends involved in the passing game. And if it stays and what Evans has turned into, and then why not get some of those running backs involved in a quick pass game or something against USC's defense? Get it out to them and let them run with it. Like, I acknowledge the wide receiver room is not good, but I don't see them trying to supplement that with other areas that I do think they have good athletes in. I don't know, man. I'm grasping at straws here. Nothing's working.
I mean, USC is going to follow the protocol that the last few teams who played have done, or last three teams. They're now going to stack the box and say, you guys, SMA, you're not going to get yours. You're not going to do it. You're going to beat us this way, and you have to prove it. So you got to spread things out. You got to move people around. You got to get the playmakers into playmaking positions. You got to get Chris Tyree on the field. I know he had a huge drop, but his speed kills. You can't teach speed. You want to get Faison back on the field? Great. I mean, he broke away from that receiver pretty easily. You know USC is going to have athletes. Get the speed on the field. Get them in open positions. Sam Hartman, to his credit, is accurate with the football for the most part when he has time to throw. And again, you can't turn the ball over too. I mean, that was another big thing. Like, you can't turn the ball over as many times. I know he was trying to make plays, but when you turn the ball over 5 times, four of them directly on him, you're not going to win the game no matter how well you play. So I think that's probably the key. We have some athletes. We just got to spread them out and try to do something. Now, if it's pouring rain and miserable, it's going to be a lot more difficult to do that.
Yeah, man, this is just not ideal. And the other thing is, you're talking about a lot of these practicalities, and I agree. We're all looking to see that offense have some different wrinkles. Needs to. But the other thing is the energy, man. It needs to match. It needs to be the energy of a team playing their rival. And last week, they weren't able to have any energy to match the opponent. And that is the ultimate slap in the face to the fan base that loves this team, that they didn't even look engaged and had really little fight, weren't ready to play, and never got over it or into it. I need them. I don't care how depressed they are. I don't care how beat up they are after 7 games in a row. You're playing your hated rival in our place, and you need to go out there and have energy. I need to see some new things practically and a renewed energy to want to go out there and hit somebody in the face.
Yeah, I mean, the message has to be, that we've all made the point. The scheduling has done us no favors. This is a scheduling debacle.
Yep.
The kid, you can tell that they are exhausted.
Yep.
But at this point,
doesn't
like
matter.
you said, the word from our guys got to be good. Guys, this is a rivalry week. The trajectory of our season is going to change with this game. It's either going to go down the tubes or it's going to kind of refocus back up. And if they come out flat, they're going to get their ass whipped.
Yeah. You're right. And it just can't be that where you're at right now. This is an important week for Marcus. Marcus has got to show he's got a grip on all this, and he's not losing the locker room and losing the faith, and people are starting to check out. Like, when you're going the way they are, that is a risk now. And I hate having to talk about that, but that's kind of where we're at. So I don't know what we're going to get, man. I'm open to this being a Clemson type thing where right when nobody expects it, they put it all together at home. If you play decent early, the crowd will buy in a little bit, even in the weather. But they're going to be nervous and anxious to start and not know what we're going to get. You got to show that you're into this to build them up.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta let the guys make plays. I mean, try to make a play on special teams. That's a huge ask right now. But hey, maybe don't fair catch a short kickoff and try to let somebody run it back. Do something. I mean, that's another thing with the special teams. Like that with Brian Kelly. Oh, don't try to run it back because we might fumble and I'm not going to get to run my offense out there. Like we got playmakers, man. Like let somebody make a play. And I think it's just it's hesitant. The coaches are hesitant to let the kids play. So go out there, play, do the very best that you can. I mean, we're favored. Don't know how that happened.
Yeah,
all the analytics are almost 5% in our favor. Not sure where that's coming from,
it's wild.
But it's really all about can we execute on offense. If we can execute on offense and score points, we're going to have a chance to win. Because I mean, the game's at home. The crowd will be in it, and we'll be ready to go.
There you go. Hey, I like that, man. But you got to figure out a way to get this one and just steady the seas a little bit heading into that bye. Lick your wounds and get your energy back up. But this is a big one, man. And so they got to be ready, and the fans are on edge, and everybody's waiting. There's a lot of pressure in South Bend this week to perform. A lot of pressure, unique pressure, warranted pressure. Because right now, none of what we've been seeing is good enough. Anything else on the way out, man? Thanks for the call today.
Yeah, John, I just want on Saturday, there's not much that can make me laugh after a Notre Dame loss, but the Adam Sandler talk was hilarious.
Dude, you know what, man? I got to tell you, dude, we needed that. We needed that. Like, I'm not kidding. As miserable as I am and Pat was and everybody sitting here discussing our misery, just that little distraction of that immature movie we all watched growing up and the one-liners are still in your brain. I'm not kidding, dude. I needed that little levity to just put my brain in another place in an immature, innocent little way. I genuinely appreciated that part of it, man. I did. I needed it.
100%. Billy Madison, classic. Happy Gilmore is probably my favorite. I was a hockey player and love playing golf. But anyway, to quote the great late Bob Barker for Jared Parker, when him and Happy were playing in the Pro-Am, this guy sucks. Yeah, I'm out, Johnny.
That's a good one. Thank you. Good call today. I have a good one. This guy sucks. You guys, things are not great. Things are not great. And again, listen, man, I knew this was going to happen. Blame me all you want for the Freeman. Like, go ahead. Tell me I was wrong. You were right. Whatever. Fine. Go ahead and pat yourself on the behind about that one. It doesn't change anything in the moment, though. Like we need to figure this out now. We can't go back and unhire Freeman if that's the path you're on already. Oh, no. This is all so frustrating. 224, what's going on, man? Afraid to ask.
Hey, what's going on, John? How are you?
I'm frustrated and exhausted, and these are not these are not any of the discussions that we all wanted to be having, man. It's really unfortunate. Very bizarre feeling week. Doesn't feel like Notre Dame USC. Everything's messed up.
Well, I wanted to come at things a little differently, and it might be a motivator that we're not thinking about, which is there's a business component to football, as we know. I mean, we're all fans, we're all passionate about wins and losses, but not only does it affect recruiting classes, affect morale of the fan base, but it affects contracts. And so there are two sort of contracts that are happening behind the scenes where if Marcus Freeman loses on Saturday, it's going to be bad news for him. The first one is any talk of a contract extension. If he loses on Saturday, I think that goes out the door for this year. And why that's so important is that puts so much pressure on year three, because a lot of coaches in Power 5, especially good Power 5 teams, do not make it past year three unless they show real improvement. So he's got a ton of pressure, because if he can somehow win out, I talked to Pete Sampson on his call-in show for The Athletic on Friday, and he was pretty definitive that if Freeman got to 10-2 at the end of the year, he would get a contract extension. If he doesn't get to 10-2, he's not getting it. So that's one big thing.
Now, what
and
is it?
I'm
Is
sure
it
that
a
he's thinking
6-year
about
deal?
that. Yeah.
Andrew, is it a 6-year deal he signed or 5?
It's my understanding that it's a 5-year deal.
Okay.
And so why year 3 is so important is each year, typically in a contract, your buyout goes down. And I would surmise, it's not public information, but I would surmise that in order for Marcus Freeman to get the head coaching job, he took a sweetheart deal with the thought process of, hey, if I win big, especially by year 2, I'm going to renegotiate the deal anyway. So who knows what the buyout is into year 3? It might be very low. It might not even be guaranteed money. And he's suspected to make $5 million a year, which after year 3, it's like $10 million. That's chump change when it comes to Power 5 football coach buyout. So it's just so huge. You don't want to be a lame duck going into year 3. If he can manage to somehow rally the troops, go 10-2, he'll have built so much good morale that I think Pete Bavacqua would want to give him an extension for this reason, which is the second thing going on behind the scenes is the TV negotiation contract. If they had a done deal with NBC, they would have announced it by now. I don't believe in people holding contracts, and you can look at the Pac-12 as the Pac-12 and the Big 12 as examples of that. They, as soon as the Big 12 had a contract, they announced it, let everybody know we're a stable situation. Same with Pac-12. They tried to lie and say they had a bunch of deals, but we all know they really didn't have any deals. So it's really huge that Notre Dame get as much money as possible for being independent, but they're negotiating on their own. They don't have other teams to prop them up. And so one big question, if I was NBC's head of sports, is who's going to be your coach, going into this new contract? And if Marcus Freeman is faltering, you don't think Pete Bavacqua is telling NBC Sports behind the scenes, hey, I'm going to give this guy one more year, but we've lined up all this money and we're going to go out and get the best coach after year 3 if he falters. So give us max dollars on NBC. You won't regret it.
And that's an interesting
angle. There's a lot of pressure.
Andrew, that's an interesting angle
because
you could always argue, look at the Weiss years, look at Davey, look at Willingham, and NBC was happy to run the Notre Dame games for mediocrity every week. The difference is the guy running all that wasn't running both sides of it. Big difference. Huge difference.
Yeah, and also the big difference was a lot of those years, NBC wasn't paying Sunday Night Football to be the most expensive property in the NFL right now.
Yeah,
they get a lot of money from that, but they're on the hook for a lot. Also, during the Weiss years, they weren't losing $100 million a year on Peacock.
Yeah,
so that's a big thing. And then they just negotiated a huge deal with the Big Ten, so they've got the time slot already. They've got teams to fill the time slot. So the idea that NBC desperately needs Notre Dame, I think is a little bit of rose-colored glasses. So I just would say that this is pivotal. This is a pivotal game for Marcus Freeman's future. You don't want to go into year 3, especially opening up the season potentially with a quarterback with no experience on the road at Texas A&M.
Yeah, I know.
He put all of his chips on year 2.
Yeah.
Saying, hey, maybe I take a step back in year 3, but I'll have bought equity and a new contract year 2.
Yeah,
but
that makes sense.
That just ain't going to happen now.
Yeah, because
unless
next
he goes 10-2.
Yeah, because next year is automatically kind of somewhat of a reset, no matter what, because of the dynamics here. That was going to be the case no matter how this year went, right? Like, in the quarterback thing, you're going to have to figure out and all that, dude. Listen. I get what you're saying. None of it's ideal. None of it's ideal. Have you?
Well, I think it is ideal. It is ideal if Freeman can rally the troops and win this game.
But that's the big question, Andrew. Forget about how they're going to play. Are they even going to act like they want to be there before I worry about the on the field? Are they actually going to have some emotion and look like they're fired up to play a game? I got to worry about that before I worry about the X's and O's, because they didn't look like they were ready or excited to play last week.
Yeah, honestly, a couple things about last week. I don't buy that they weren't ready, or I shouldn't say that. They definitely weren't ready. I don't buy that they weren't into the game. They had a shot to win that football game deep into the third quarter. And this is what I want to get to in my second point, and I'll let you go. If Chris Tyree doesn't make those 2 mistakes, we could be talking a totally different situation right now. If he catches that touchdown pass, and even if he hold on to the football and get stuffed on that play instead of fumbling on that counter play, we're talking about a totally different game. Those two plays were such big momentum killers that it cost them the game. And so, like, they just could not come back from making all these mistakes 2 weeks in a row on the road in a tough atmosphere. It was too much to come back from. And I point the finger at Chris Tyree, and that's my point, is I think Chris Tyree, biggest defender. I thought it was criminal how he was used last year by Tommy Rees. And I thought it was so criminal, not because I thought he should have been the starting running back, but because Dalen McCullough is a longtime running backs coach and spent multiple years under Andy Reid, which Andy Reid is probably, not only is he the best offensive mind in football, he's probably the best passing coordinator to a running back ever. Like, what was that guy's name? Brian Westbrook on the Eagles. He was probably Andy Reid's best pass catcher other than Terrell Owens during his tenure there. And so, like, Tommy Rees could have turned around to Dalen McCullough and said, "Hey, got any Andy Reid type, pass plays that we can get Chris Tyree involved?" So I was a big defender of his, but last week he got his shot. I mean, Brian Driscoll actually really came at me because I was calling out Chris Tyree, and he's like, "Hey, he's done a lot of good things this year. Why are you getting on him?" And I'm like, because last week was his turn to be a star, to step up and save the team from losing on the road. And in his 2 moments to shine, he failed. And so I don't want to hear people clamoring for Chris Tyree anymore. There's a big difference between guys who step up and succeed and guys who fail. And it's like he's forever going to be tied with Kyron Williams because they kind of look alike, even though they're different players and he was his backup. But Kyron Williams stepped up and would oftentimes put the team on his back and win games. Chris Tyree's never done that. He had his shot last week. He failed. I'm sorry. I'm moving on. If Greathouse is 100% healthy, he's playing 90% of the snaps at slot, and I don't want to hear anything from Chris Tyree. Maybe you get into my good graces if you return a punt or something, but my days of defending Chris Tyree are done. He cost us the game last week.
Yeah. So. Andrew, what do you think is the easiest way to make this offense look better against USC? Now that you've had time to soak all this in and what we saw last week and Duke and all this, what do you think could be adjusted in this week to just give us a better chance to move the ball? Like, that's the level we're at. What would you do? What would you put in? How would you do this?
Well, I hate to say this because I was one of the biggest advocates for replacing Tommy Rees. But the one thing that I will give Tommy Rees credit for is after a handful of games, he realized that his wide receivers, or whatever was going on with the wide receivers last year, were not going to work. And so what did he do? He completely changed the offense and said, we're going to pound the football. I don't care how many guys you put in the box. We're going to pound the football. And when we do throw the football, we're going to stare down Michael Mayer. And because if you're going to put 10 guys in the box, that means a linebacker and a safety are going to be double teaming Mayer. And I like my odds with that. So I think you've got to completely abandon this 3 wide receiver, 4 wide receiver nonsense like they came out with on the first drive against Louisville and say to yourself, who are my best pass catchers? It's my 3 tight ends. It's Mitchell Evans, it's Holden Staes, and now Eli Reardon's healthy. So I'm going 2, 3 tight end sets. I'm keeping Holden Staes as an H-back. Like, what happened? Holden Staes caught 1 huge touchdown and another huge reception, lining up as an H-back, a fullback in the backfield, where you can line him up there and he can pick up any blitzes, or you can roll him out into the flats and hit him in the flats. Have we seen that play since NC State? I mean, he caught 3 or 4 balls out of the backfield like that. And even Davis Sherwood, the freaking 4-string tight end, caught a touchdown on that same play against NC State. They've totally gone away from that. And it's all because of vanity. They want to prove to themselves that they've reinvented this wide receiver room. Whereas at least, even though Tommy Rees is not a good offense coordinator, at least he was a realist with himself and said, I'm abandoning that crappy offense and we're just going to go exclusively to Michael Mayer.
Man, it's just a frustrating place to be. And listen, it could get a lot worse. I don't know what's going to happen this weekend. I'm not adding more losses on the schedule than I am required to. I'm open to them figuring out a way to fight it out and get this one. But there's just a lot of questions, Andrew, and this ain't the time you want to have all these questions about all the big picture, the small picture, the medium picture. It's all out there right now, and it's just bad, dude. I just hate it. It's an icky feeling.
Well, hey, I think the last thing, and I'll let other callers get. The last thing I would just say is, Sam Hartman deserves some heat. You know, I've been a big Sam Hartman supporter. I think he's played pretty well at Notre Dame, but I mean, do you feel like we got what was sold to us? You know, he hasn't elevated anybody.
Yeah,
and so
it's
I
been,
just think that
man,
if he wants to
frustrating.
save his Notre Dame legacy.
But Andrew, then people are going to go, has he had the good O-line play? And who the hell's he throwing to? How's that his fault? Like, whenever you go down that path, and it's like, well, Hartman isn't exactly raising all that. Then you end up with, but we have no line. The line's getting crushed and no wide receivers. So what do you want him to do? It's just all not where it needs to be.
I just think that, you know, you're a big time player. We brought you in to be a big time player. Okay, fine. The last 3 weeks of offense haven't worked out. Well, you're a 6-year player. Get with your offensive coordinator and Gino Guidugli and figure out how to beat USC. Because if he wins a dramatic victory against USC, I think he's rebuilt his reputation. I think if he loses another game, it's a poor performance, you might as well just go to the bench and see what you got out of the other quarterbacks. Because at what point does a hired mercenary like Hartman check out and say, why am I going to continue to put my body on the line? My only remaining chance is to maybe sign as a free agent signee onto an NFL roster, and the only way I'm going to make that team is if I'm 100% healthy. So there's a negative side to bringing in a hired hand like that they could check out. So this is it. I mean, the chips are down on the table. Marcus Freeman's got to win if he wants a contract extension. If we want Hartman engaged for the rest of the year, we got to win. But he's also got to prove that he was worth all the hype. So I got to hope that he's feeling some pressure and we can pull it out. I think it's all about making the adjustments. I think if they go heavy on the tight end, that would be really important. And just the last thing about Parker is, like, I get they're loading the box, but you got at least Tommy Rees showed some discipline and I'm going to run the football. And if you're going to stuff me, you'll stuff me. But they just totally got away from that last week. And then they were just in this weird funk of, now we're down by a couple scores. Now we got to throw the ball the whole game. That's just not a good thing. So, yeah.
Yeah, man. Andrew, thank you for the call, man. And it's just, there's a lot to navigate and none of it's ideal. And nobody knows what they're going to get Saturday night. So we're going to see what we have. I think I'm nervous to find out. The USC people are too, I think. Everybody's nervous to see what this is going to be. But Andrew, thank you as always for your participation.
Hey, thanks. Have a good one, John.
Have a good one. 707. What's going on?
John, happy birthday before we start getting into it.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
I'm not getting any younger, and this team ain't helping either. I got to tell you, buddy.
I know, but I'm going to give you some pushback because I think it's been just too much negativity going on.
All right.
You know, Notre Dame, we're 6-2. Marcus Freeman, you know, Lou Holtz's first 2 years, his record 13-10. And now Marcus Freeman currently is 15-6. So, you know, we all knew going in there was going to be growing pains for a guy that has no head coaching experience, right? And so now they blew it on the offensive coordinator, and he picked a guy that's another green guy as green as him. So, you know, for us to be expecting like big things against USC, I'm not. We are not. Caleb Williams is much better than Hartman. You know, they're undefeated. We have 2 losses. We're playing at home with Pac-12 refs. You know, that right there, they're going to give them Notre Dame a final salvo. And, you know, we're going to have to withstand horrible officiating.
Yeah.
So, you know, for you guys to get all...
This is so depressing. For us to get all what? All what?
For us to get all hyped up like we should beat them, I don't see it. They're a better team. They have a Heisman Trophy winner, and he's on par for the next Heisman Award. And the coach is more experienced, and Mario Williams, Caleb Williams from Oklahoma, and he brought in like 23 guys, or maybe even 40 by the time the last 2 years go. And Marcus Freeman's working on being a head coach for the first time, and he's not getting any help, from the administration. I just, you got to realize where we are and the realistic possibilities. Like Lou Holtz was 13-10 his first 2 years. Marcus is already better than that. So you gotta give an inch a little bit, and you gotta not be so negative to always, because just like I tune in and all these guys in the chat tune in and find your show, eventually these kids that are 5-stars are going to see the same whining and down and just no hope. And, they're going to say, why would I come here and get this kind of abuse? It's like, I don't need this. I'll go to a team like Georgia or Alabama where the fan bases believe in the team and they don't take every single play as dire. So that's my thing. I probably won't be put on your show anymore because I'm pushing back on it.
No.
But I'm just tired of it.
It's fine. It's fine. But it isn't just the losses. It's how, man. I am open to Marcus having a learning curve. I am not open to you.
It's reality TV.
But like what I'm saying though is I've always been open to the idea that there would be a learning curve. And I have flexibility for certain items, in my opinion, that apply to that. Not being able to have the right amount of guys is out of bounds of the learning curve. That's off the grid. Like, I'm never going to be okay with that. I'm never going to be okay with that. And yet it happened.
And it happened to a guy that's a first-year coach, And now he's going to go in and play USC, who's, what are they, a top 5 by now? They got the Heisman Trophy quarterback. I mean, the expectations that you guys think that, we should win this and we have to win this and all that. Here, the reality is they should win because they're a better team with better coaching. Right now, they're better coaching. And that doesn't mean that it's going to stay that way.
Yeah.
Marcus Freeman's going to go into his 3rd year next year. He's going to be done with these crappy linebackers that we have. And I'm talking about Kaiser, Bertrand, Leofau. All those guys suck. Put in Osbury. Let's see Sneed. Let's see that kid Minter. He's 6'2" and 233. He's a freshman. We're going to have some things to look forward to. And this year we've been out without Deion Colsey the whole year. Jaden Thomas, who missed a couple of games. Greathouse missed a couple of games. And we're all complaining about our wide receivers suck. Well, that was Hartman's bread and butter was those 3 guys going into the season, and they haven't been able to play. So for whatever injuries they had. So we're not really weak there. And we're not, the calling has, you can't blame them when you have no receivers left to put on the field. And this kid, whatever his name was, came in and played great. I want him on the field. That's just the way it is. I want to see him because he's.
Maybe we just need to hit up the lacrosse scholarships and see who we could get, man. And you just move more of them over. The kid's, I'm happy for him. It's just kind of sad that we're in this position. So wait a second, dude. What am I supposed to go? Oh, things aren't going well, so I'm accepting a loss against USC, and I'm just supposed to be fine with it because it's where we're at. How do you ever get over the hump if you just always accept that you're behind the other team you got to get ahead of? Come on.
Because
this is killing me. It's killing me.
I know it. Yeah. Well, this is Notre Dame, and this is the schedule they did. This. I blame Swarbrick for these games that are all in a row like this. 8 games without a break is just unheard of. I don't think that's except for if you want to go back 40 years. But other than that, everyone gets these buys, and this was a crappy schedule job by Swarbrick. He could have made that very different. Just give them a buy. Yeah. If they don't want to play, if it doesn't fit that schedule another out of conference. Make them be forced to make a change. If we have an agreement with them, that doesn't mean they get to pick their schedule.
Yeah.
That means we have an agreement that we have to play this many teams. And if we don't, whose fault is it? It's not ours. We need a bye. But anyway,
Yeah.
that's
okay.
another thing.
Listen, man, I mean, I get what you're saying. Everybody's just so frustrated. And if you feel that way about my show and these podcasts, I'm glad you're not on Twitter, because Twitter is an absolute dumpster.
Oh, I know.
It's an absolute dumpster fire. Everybody's going at each other within the fan base, calling each other out. How are you blaming that? No, it's this. Don't blame that. You're approaching it wrong. No, you're approaching it wrong. And everybody's going at each other. Everybody's blaming every single thing it could be. Nobody can. It's just rough. So then I'll ask you this then. How are you watching this game? Like, kind of expecting it to go bad, but in the back of your mind, hoping that they do better than that? Like, I just don't want to enter it being reserved to the fact that we're going to play like crap and lose to this guy.
Yeah, I'm expecting that the refs are going to suck because they've been the worst in the
That's a
in
good
football
expectation.
for decades.
I think you're going to fulfill that expectation. Yes. Yeah.
That's right. And then nothing's going to change with that. And especially what I'm seeing is that these conferences are finally telling these refs, don't give these guys anything. They need to join a conference. And until they do, screw them. What do you got to lose? They get their other team's home cooking refs for every game.
Yeah.
You know, what's the repercussion if we screw them? There is none.
Yeah.
You know, unless we hire NFL refs and say, look, any team that schedules us, you're going to have to deal with our refs being from the NFL. That's it.
Yeah.
You know, the only way they can see fairness, because the conferences, this is a joke. None of them like Notre Dame because they're independent. So now it's starting to be that they're pushing the hand that we are not going to give these guys anything because what do we care? They need to be in a conference. Everyone wants them in their conference. Until they do that, they don't deserve any respect. And so that's what's happening with the refereeing. Because these last three games have been hellacious on calls.
Yep. It's I don't know, man. We're in the crap now, man. We're in the crap. Like
I just want to see people be realistic about what is actually happening. You know, I mentioned it twice already. Lou's record in this first 2 years was 13-10. Imagine social media on a 13-10 guy. They'd rip his heart out.
Now, you do know that. You do know on the pushback you're going to receive. If I put that on Twitter,
I'm good.
The pushback I would receive would be Lou inherited a dumpster fire and Freeman inherited, an 11-win team that was pretty, not elite, but pretty stable. How are you going to compare those starting points? I know how social media is, man. I'm telling you, that's the response I would have got back is, Lou inherited a much shittier situation. That would be what you would hear.
And his record proved it out, 13-10. And then he turned it around. But the thing is, I'm seeing the same kind of things with Freeman, except for the problem is Freeman's learning at Green. Lou had a lot of experience before he got here.
Yeah.
And that's an issue that Notre Dame has to. The fans have to realize that that's just not, mistakes are going to happen by rookie coaches. And then when you're not going to let them have a guy that's experienced like Ludwig, an old man that can bring a lot.
Then you're all backed up against it. Yeah, you're all backed up.
And you go with a guy like Parker, here's where the reality is of the situation. There's a lot of things that are going against him. And what I still see is an upward trajectory of how he's recruiting. And these kids that are not playing yet and should be playing, because I think Kaiser sucks. And I think Bertrand is above, not as good as we all think he is. I think Patelho is having a very disappointing season. I was expecting so much from him. And Mills is another one that's terrible. He had 8 tackles, everyone says, but when you watch the game, he gets pushed back 3 yards on every play, and then he makes a tackle 6 yards down the field.
You know what? How about this? I'm going to give you some positivity. Howard Cross, I think, has played very good this year, and I'm very proud of him. He has a good motor, and I'm happy with what I've seen from Howard Cross this year. There's a pleasant surprise up front.
Thank you.
I mean, hey man, we're just struggling, man. I am. Listen, and I get where you're coming from. It's just a frustrating dynamic. But I also
It's just reality.
I want to make sure you know that I'm not going to not take your call anymore if you call and respectfully disagree with me, man. I wouldn't do that. You should know that by now.
I know, but I get so when I see that room, it's like, if I was a recruit, I would look at these shows and I would just be like, look at what all these kids are saying. Like, every play is a dire thing for Notre Dame fans. We live and die by each play.
Man, this is just how it is. This is my world every day. All this social media and the internet, and this is just how it goes. Everything, the emotion is the reactionary. It's just cranked to 100, man. This is how it goes. This is the world. I'm not saying it's how it should be, but the overreactionary things, one way or the other, is just, it's the way it goes these days. Anything else on the way out? It was good touch of base with
social media.
Yeah, it's wild. I know. It's melting our brains. It's melting our brains. I know that.
Yeah. It's just got to be that you have to look at reality. Here's what the situation is. And, in my opinion, we're 6-2. We're probably going to go 2-2. I think we're not going to beat Clemson at Clemson, and I don't think we're going to beat USC.
Right? Yeah, it's 5-2 because this will be game 8.
Are we only 5-2?
Yeah.
Well, that's worse than,
because this will be game 8. So yeah, that's right. Whatever it is, can you just play good against your rival and act like you want to be there? Is that like, I don't want to have to get to that. That's all I'm asking for, man.
I would like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm not expecting the world, against them and again against Clemson. I think we'll beat Wake Forest because we're just better. And I think we'll beat Stanford because we're just better. But the reality is Clemson's struggling, but they're going to be playing at home with a lot to prove after we kicked their ass last year.
It's going to be a tough game no matter what down there. I know that. And then Pitt, you never know what you're going to get from Pitt. And I also know, also never know what I'm going to get from Notre Dame out of a bye. So like, I'm looking at that one too, dude. This is just a rough road for Notre Dame this year. Hey, thanks for the call, man. Really appreciate touch of base. Give me a call later in the week.
All right, Johnny.
Have a good one. Yep. Last caller of the day, 385. Make it come alive. What's up with it?
John.
Yeah.
John.
Yeah.
Hey, man. Hey, bro. This is Renee from Utah, man. Sorry to call you so much, but.
No, that's okay,
I
buddy.
love your show so much.
That's okay, buddy.
I love your show so much. I love your show so much, bro, because I like I said, that dude that just called, man, made very good points, man. I was so heartbroken, and I seen what everybody's seen too. I don't want to rehash that, man. I seen 2 good pass plays and then an interception looked like he just threw it up, right? And I'm not gonna try to dissect it, man, because I'm not a coach. I'm not a collegiate level coach. I've coached on the high school level, and I've coached young kids in the little league. So I'm not gonna try to dissect it like everybody else. But I seen the same things you guys did. And me too, like any other Irish fan, like I tell you, man, my heart was broken. But these are still, everybody's like, oh, Louisville, but Louisville is a good team. You know what I mean? Those are good players. And I hear everybody talking about, if we could have won Ludwig. I live in Utah. You ought to hear how the fans talk about him. You ought to hear how the fans talk about Utah's offense year in, year out.
Yeah.
They're dog shit. He plays conservative. Kyle Whittingham. I don't dislike Utah because of the players. I dislike Utah because of the fans. I worked in a sports bar for 10 years, and they would say, oh yeah, Utah. Hey, who's your team? I go, the Irish. Oh yeah, when were you guys relevant? I said, hey bro, how many national titles do you guys have? And they would say, oh, and you guys won. You're like, well, back in the 30s. And I said, yeah, right, but BYU has one down the road, don't they? That's 1-0, bro. You win, right? So anyways, I agree with what that dude said, man, about Freeman. Like, I don't want to see Freeman leave, man. I don't. I couldn't stand Charlie Weiss, and I couldn't stand Brian Kelly, bro.
Yeah.
I'm only 40. I'm only 41, man, and I've seen Lou Holtz. I've seen Bob Davie, man, and I don't want to see Freeman leave. I want to see a good game on Saturday. I want to see us finish up 10-2. It's gonna be tough because USC's tough. When we go down to Clemson, we're playing against Dabo Sweeney in his own backyard. It's going to be the same environment like going into Louisville.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I honestly think, man, that the guy said Lou Holtz was 13-2, and granted, yeah, he did inherit a dumpster fire. This dude got what? Brian Kelly kept us relevant only enough to keep his job. You know what I mean? He only kept us. He couldn't win against Georgia. He won one big game against Oklahoma. I mean, come on, John. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
I mean, Charlie White's only bowl win came at the Hawaii Bowl, 7-16.
Yeah. So what is the answer then that after this year, Freeman needs to be a better job of surrounding himself with more experienced guys to help move all this along while he works through the growing pains? Or like how do we navigate our way out of these frustrations we're in right now? Small picture and big picture. How do you navigate it?
No, I agree with you right there. Like, whatever this season may be, if we can run the tables, get to 10-2, get to a good bowl, hopefully a New Year's Six, because Notre Dame has a lot of fan base, a lot of money for those bowls. I'm hoping we can run the tables and end up 11-2. People may think I'm crazy, man, but hey, who would have thought Louisville with punches in the mouth like that, right? But if not, I think we finish 9-3, 10-3 at the best, get to another bowl again. He finishes at least with a 10-win season. And then, yeah, next year, to answer your question, you surround yourself with whatever you need to do. Like the last caller said, McCullough's been around Andy Reid, right? I mean, maybe McCullough's more offensive minded. You know what I mean? Learning from Andy Reid. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I think you do maybe get a more experienced guy at whatever you need to fix. But I'm not gonna count him out, man. You know what I mean? Tyrone Willingham had us 8-0, 9-0, man. He had us go down to Tallahassee and beat a monster of a Florida State team, man. And he didn't get a chance, man. You know what I mean? He inherited dog shit from Bob Davie, too. And he wasn't Notre Dame's first choice.
Man, I really just hope that I would like to see Freeman grow and all that and be the guy, but he needs some more support around him from the athletic department and on the staff that he doesn't have. He needs some more guidance and help than I wanted him to need. And I don't know how you get there. So, but how are you? I want to know how you're entering the USC game. I'm saying I'm not counting this as a loss because I've seen USC as flaws too. I'm not counting this as a guaranteed loss, but I am not counting on Notre Dame to play good either. That's where I'm at. I don't know what the hell I'm going to get. No idea.
No, I'm coming in, man. Look, I'm coming in at home with my brother, who's a USC fan, and we're gonna watch it right there. And I'm coming in hopeful, man. I'm coming in hoping that they make the adjustments that they need to, that they don't do the guard rotation, that they stick with the same old line that beat NC State, that beat Duke, that played tough against Ohio State, and that they make it close. I think because we are at home, that's gonna be the deciding factor. But hey, man, call me an optimistic man, but I really do think that we have a better chance than what people are giving us.
Well, there you go.
It's like you say, man. It's like you say, Twitter's blowing up. You think these kids don't read this? You think, hey, this is the second hardest job in the world, man. The president of the United States and Notre Dame football coach, man.
Yep. And then I put Yankees manager. I put Yankees manager right up there with it with those two. Those are the three that I've always had. Yankees manager, president, Notre Dame.
Right. And so that's what I'm coming into, man. I'm coming hopeful. I love the Irish. Let me tell you something, John. Like I told you, man, my dad is one of my heroes, man. He came from Mexico with a third grade degree, and every season he knows he sits on the couch. And he's retired now, though. He lives in Southern Utah. But every season we sit on the porch and we watch Notre Dame football. And man, and he didn't know much about football, but he knows how much I love Notre Dame, and he knows how exciting it is for me to watch it. And he's there with me, man. Every season, year in, year out, man. And the fans got to remember that. And that's a man that came from Mexico, not knowing football, man. Like, the reason why I say that is because, man, like, we got to come in hopeful like that. We have to, man, because these kids, you said it best. Twitter's blowing up. Like we're really gonna like divide the Irish nation because people like Freeman, people don't like Freeman. Like, hey man, give him this year. Next year, yeah, man. Say 3 years, that's it. 3 and out, man. 3 strikes, you're out, man. I would agree with you, but I think 2 years is just gonna be not enough time for him to get what he needs.
Man, yeah, this
You know
is just,
I mean?
it's just not ideal circumstances, but we all love Notre Dame. I'm still going to watch. I still want to see them do well. I'm not counting it as a loss Saturday, but I do not have confidence they're going to do good either. Like, I don't know what we're going to get, man. But hey, thank you for calling, man. Call me again Friday.
Hey, John, man, thank you, man, for your show. Thanks to all the fans. Like I said, disagree or agree, man, nothing but love. You know what I mean? Thank you, John.
No
Appreciate
problem,
you,
buddy. No problem. I'm happy to do this. And listen, man, I'm not letting these trolls get to me. Like, say whatever you want. Like, some of you guys got your wieners in your hand and you're just so excited that you wanted Freeman to fail and now it looks like you're right and you're getting off on it. Go for it, man. I hope you feel great watching Notre Dame lose. I really do. Like, that you're a Notre Dame fan, but you're excited about that. Good for you, man. It's sad. Blame me all you want, but I'm not ready to count Freeman out. But there's 90 things that need to get right. I am not ready to count Freeman out, but there are a lot of things that need to get right that aren't anywhere near right. That's kind of where I'm at. And he's going to have to make some very, very tough decisions. I am serious. I'm not done with Freeman. Is anybody done with Freeman after? Like, you're really done with Freeman after a year and a half? That's it? That's all you needed to see? You're done? Like, I just think it's too early for that. Be frustrated. Say everything has to be better all you want. But I don't know how you could say you're done with Freeman after just this amount of time. So if you are, you are. Whatever. Fine. Bad week. Rough dynamics. Everybody's miserable. I ate everything. How about the wait for Saturday? Dude, it's like looking at your watch and going, what time do we have to go to Grandma's funeral? You know you got to do it, but you ain't looking forward to it. Sorry, man. It's just, it feels so bad right now. So whatever. But keep trolling, keep doing whatever you want to do. I don't care. And then when you push me to the limit, I'll mute you or block you and you'll create a new email. Like, bro, I have so many other things to worry about than you guys trolling me right now. So whatever. Thank you for the calls. Thank you for the donations. Thank you for all of this. But rough times in Notre Dame Nation. Have a good one, everybody. Thanks for being here.